Kawasaki ZZR1400 has for a very long time been considered the fastest production motorcycle that the general public could go out and buy. It had power, speed, handling, and looks that really nothing else from the speed wars of the late 90s and early 2000s could match. It was more powerful than the Hayabusa, had more torque than the Hayabusa. It was arguably a better handling bike at speed than the Hayabusa, and it had stunning styling that the Hayabusa just couldn't match. All around, this was a very, very worthy recipient of the tagline, the King of Speed. But like any royalty, the reign of the ZZR has to come to an end. Kawasaki's got a new kid on the block in the form of the supercharged H2 SX SE, and it's toppled the crown of the King of Speed. Yes, I know the H2 SX is a worthy heir to the throne. I've spent many thousands of miles on the bike, and it is a phenomenal bit of kit. It can match the ZZR1400 on power, on torque, on speed. It's even lighter, more agile, and probably a little bit easier to ride. But I don't think any of those points actually make it much of a better bike. So the ZZR1400 has got a claimed 200 bhp on tap. It rises to 210 with the introduction of the ram air induction through that massive frontal air scoop that you can see there. It has a mind-bending 113 pounds-foot of torque, and because it's a normally aspirated, almost 1.5 litre engine in this thing, the torque curve is just beautifully linear. It's almost like you can slide your way up it as you open the throttle and get up to speed on the bike. And as I talk about an engine that's nearly 1.5 litres in capacity and normally aspirated, there is something very special about the way that this engine builds speed and the way that it gains momentum and the way that it delivers its torque to the road that you really can't match. Whether it's an electric bike, a supercharged bike, or even a two-stroke, they can't come close to the way that this thing gets down the road. And as I talk about the way that it delivers its power, I want to talk about the throttle of this thing, because it's not an electronically operated throttle. It's a good old cable operated item. And I, for one, think that's absolutely great, because that connection, that feel that you get through that throttle is so direct and so intuitive, and you always manage to dial in exactly the amount that you need. It's like you're reaching round, putting your hand through the fairing, grabbing hold of the throttle butterflies and opening them by hand. And it just makes you feel so at one with the bike. You feel like you're part of the thing as you're riding it. That lovely cable operated throttle though, it does have its drawbacks, mainly that this bike doesn't have cruise control, which on a sports tourer is a little bit of a pain in the wrist. It also means the rider safety systems aren't quite as advanced as they are on the later sports bikes, like the H2 SX SE for instance. It means that things like the traction control, they can't work in the same way as they do on those later models. But it still has riding modes, it still has traction control, and it still has intuitive IMU controlled cornering ABS. And don't think that the engine is the star of the ZZR show. I mean, it is. It's a massive part of the bike. Quite literally, it is all engine. But it's not just about that. The build quality of this thing is absolutely stunning. Everything from the multi-component top yoke and the way that it's all put together to the suspension system. I mean, the suspension on this bike is a masterstroke. It manages to mix sporty riding dynamics and comfort. It's firm without being harsh, it's comfortable without being wallowy, and it's fully adjustable so you can dial it into whatever riding style that you're going to be undertaking. And while we're talking about the chassis components of the bike, I want to just talk about the braking system, because it is absolutely so powerful. You've got Brembo master cylinders radially mounted. You've also got Brembo 4-pot monoblock calipers up front. And I'm pretty sure with just 2 fingers on that lever, you'd be able to give yourself a reverse facelift if you pulled it hard enough. It's so strong, the feedback is so good. And because it's coupled to that suspension, you've got such control over the bike when you're slowing the thing down into a corner. It doesn't feel like a big bike. It doesn't feel like a sports tourer when you're in the turns. It feels like a sports bike. So aside from the weapons grade premium quality build of this thing, and also of course that lovely engine, I've got to talk about the comfort, because this is a bike that is built to cross continents, and whether it's you riding alone, with somebody on the back, with luggage, without luggage, it all just feels really comfortable. The bike sort of melts around you, the handlebars sort of come up to meet you as you sit on the thing, and it's like road test 101. Your hands and feet just feel natural and they just fall into the right position. But it is true. Even the switch gear on this and the way that you change through the engine modes and the power modes, you can do it all on the fly. It's all beautifully laid out. And it just means you don't have to worry about anything. You don't feel stressed when you're riding it. But because of that, it's so deceptively fast. And because the screen on the Performance Edition that you can see here with its clever little double bubble aerofoil on top makes riding it seem so quiet that you can be doing really outrageous speeds and not even actually know it. So yes, the ZZR has been usurped. It's been knocked off its throne by the supercharged H2 SX SE. I know that change has to happen. I know that emissions regulations aren't going to stop. They're always going to get tougher, and that's partly the reason that Kawasaki have gone to supercharging for their latest range of sports tourers. It means they can still develop 200 horsepower or more, yet they can still have a clean and efficient burn. And I know that technically on paper that the bike that's replacing this is better in a lot of ways, but technically better on a spec sheet doesn't necessarily make it a better bike. And I'm really going to miss this thing. I'm going to be gutted there isn't going to be one on the Kawasaki press fleet to take out when I want. If you like that video, folks, please don't forget to let us know in the comments below and hit like, subscribe and the notification bell so that you can stay up to date with all of Visordown's latest videos. For all the latest news, reviews and motorcycle features, please head over to visordown.com.